All right, great. So, Hakan, I think you're we'll do like a quick little update on the past panels, and Hakan was on the first panel this semester or this quarter for steps organizations can take to create happier and more fulfilled employees. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Sorry. Is there anything you want to just share about that, your experience with that, Hakan, or just how the panel went itself?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a great conversation with three great colleagues. The vibe was there. I think we did a lot of improvising on the spot too, and explored a lot of ideas together, and such a great combination of expertise. And I think it was well received too. But I don't know, you were the audience. I was mostly on the stage, so I'm curious to hear your insights actually. But I was very happy about the whole experience.
Thank you. Yeah, I think overall we're seeing a good trend with the AOM scholars on panels. We're getting a few more participants each time, and then the web views on YouTube once we for people who didn't make it and want to watch it afterwards, those are increasing as well. So we're getting a little bit more traction here as we move along, and we're really hopeful for. We're looking forward to the next one, which is going to be in Chicago at the annual meeting, and that's going to be with Margaret Heffernan, Hyla Lifshutz, Leon Prieto, and Matthew Bean, talking about how to win at work using technology for productivity and innovation. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Michael, who's going to give us a little update on PR.
Yeah, and so I think why don't we just stay on this slide for now, Natalie? And for everyone attending live today, thank you so much for being part of the SME program, and everyone watching on recording at a later time, thank you as well. Your efforts are critical in helping fuel our media relations and public relations results, and also helping elevate the Academy of Management on a national and global scale. So I think the core point that we want to drive home, especially on this slide, in Hakan, you can probably speak to this, is that our quarterly panels are critical for distilling AOM insights into actionable takeaways on the biggest trends and top news cycles. And so I just want to show the value, if you're asked to participate in a future panel, some of the value and results that comes from that. Not only can you be part of the AOM Scholars on panels, but also help drive media coverage. So we had a great feature in the Human Resources Trade Publication HR Dive. You can see that in the far left here with Ryan Golden, Ryan attended that panel live, and then shortly thereafter covered the topics. And we were routinely seeing probably between 2 and 6 top tier media attend. Just yesterday, we had reporters from Fortune and Business Insider attend, and we are aggressively pitching media on that panel thereafter to secure media coverage. So we view the AOM Scholars on as really kind of the engine of the SME program, and then when we aren't having these panels, we are then leveraging the 100+ or so of you in quick reaction commentary with world's top media, which we'll go through now. So I'll go through a few slides here and kind of show across Q1 and historically how the SME program has grown and the most recent impact for AOM in driving further ROI on building the AOM brand, and also furthering the relevance and degree that we are shaping news cycles via AOM and via all of your insights. So Natalie, we can go to the first slide here. So let's take a step back and just look historically where we started and where we are today. And so the program launched in 2021, and I'll go real quickly because I know a lot of you might know this, but we started in 2021 with 22 members, and now we've grown to 113 members. And 3+ years later, that AOM SMEs are proactively sought after by media. I would say about 70 to 80% of our proactive communications from media, from New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Fortune, et cetera, are asking for, hi, do you have any subject matter experts that can speak to X trend? hi, do you have any subject matter experts that can speak? I'm on deadline for my editor, and I don't see any research on this, but I need your insights. And so the SMEs have become an incredible media relationship building tool, and also for securing coverage. And so you can see the table on the right of the amount of interviews we do per year, and then the amount of articles that result from those. And so you can see from 32, 51, 70, and more to come this year. So the headline here was that the SME program is deeply integrated within our media relations strategy, and that the SME program is helping drive meaningful, impactful results in securing favorable coverage for AOM. Okay, we can go to the next slide, Natalie. All right, and then I'll kick it over to Natalie here just to talk about our remaining panels, because we do have potential for more confirmation on the Q4. So Natalie, you want to take it from here?
Yes, so I know, Steve, you mentioned that the next meeting is going to be in person at the annual meeting, but for Q4, it will be virtual, and we are taking any interested participants. These are just the people that filled out that initial survey that we sent around at the beginning of the year. So if anyone has interest or has a recommendation on someone we should reach out to for this panel, please let us know, or you can email press@aom.org. Any thoughts or recommendations would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and I think that might be a good spot to just pause quickly on just the topic of Q4, employee training and development in a changing world, fostering workforce proactivity. And so really the notion of proactivity in Q4 last year, we had another one of these calls where we asked all folks attending what types of topics were really keeping their research focus and of interest, and the notion of proactivity repeatedly came up, especially from Carol Kulik. So I think if you are doing any research on how organizations or environments are producing notions of proactivity, proactive actions to be more productive, to come up with more innovative ideas, to come up with ingenious solutions, we would love to have you on this panel, especially if you have any research that you're working with practitioners, working with organizations, and learning directly from them how they are fostering environments, or even have employee training programs or development programs that can have more curious, more proactive, more aggressive might not be the word, but more prone to action employees. So I'd be curious of the couple of folks that are on, does this topic strike a chord with you at all? Would this be of interest? Or if you're maybe not available, you're going to be busy in Q4, all good. But if you have any points of, you might want to think about X, or you might want to think about Y, we'd welcome any feedback here too. And no worries if not, but I know a lot of folks might watch this thereafter. And so if what I described sounds like you and it corresponds with the research focus, please reach out, as Natalie mentioned, to any of our emails or press@aom.org. And then one last plug too, if you are going to be attending the annual meeting in Chicago, we'd love to have you attend the session on August 11th. I believe we're still firming up the exact timing of that, but we'll communicate that exactly what time on the 11th that the session will be. But it should be a very rich discussion, especially on all things intersection of AI, automation, robotics, et cetera, and how that will be able to be integrated to spur productivity and innovation rather than distract or detract from it. I know Gila and Matt especially have some really unique insights on those topics. Okay, we can keep moving here. Okay,
just for
go ahead,
everybody's, the meeting time in Chicago, so it's going to be 11 o'clock Central Time on Sunday the 11th. So the program for the annual meeting will probably be going out, I think it's like early June or so, but then you'll be able to go in and create your own personalized schedule, and be sure to add the SME panel to your schedule for Sunday at 11.
Yep, and we'll hopefully to have a little bit more of an interactive Q&A element of that. So if this sounds of interest to you, we'd welcome for you to think about this topic, and then either be ready to contribute or ask questions, and we'd love to have a vigorous discussion. Great, we can move forward here.
All right. So just wanted to give you guys. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Steve. We just want to touch on our new engagement method. So go ahead, Natalie.
Yes, so as you may know, you may have started to see our emails coming in. We've started to send these mass email opportunities because we commonly get quick on deadline reporter requests from top tier media looking for SME commentary on trending news cycles. So in Q1, for example, we had 5 of these emails sent and we received 14 responses, securing 3 top tier pieces of coverage with 2 that are pending or ran after Q1. So this is an example on the right of what these emails look like. But they have been highly efficient. We've received a really high open rate and we haven't missed an opportunity yet. So we really appreciate everyone's time and willingness to contribute to these. And it's helping us be really effective and efficient. And another quick plug, but if you're on sabbatical or tied up in a busy season of grading, have other commitments, there is an option to either delete or unsubscribe for a period of time and then return when you have more availability. So that is an option to everyone as well. And then here we just have some feedback that we have received from these distributions, which have been really helpful in repurposing for other opportunities that we see for quick turnaround interviews. So again, really appreciate everyone's time and participation here.
Yeah, and just to add, this is a great opportunity also just to maximize your time and efficiency. We really likely don't need you to jump on the phone with any media, but if you can provide with a few bullets, then we can then repurpose that into quick media coverage in the likes of Washington Post, Business Insider, New York Times, etc. So, and you'll see this email come through from, I believe, from the AOM Press email signature, and then you will note very clearly, as you can see on the right there, exactly what the opportunity is, who the reporter is, the topic, deadline, etc. And so it's been a great technique and tool for us to further and capture media opportunities that largely would go unfilled and ultimately missed opportunities. So we appreciate it. And we at least want to go over this once more.
And then these are the 3 pieces of coverage that were secured in Q1, just for reference.
And I think Carrie's on the call. I believe you were covered in the BBC article here. So on the far left, would welcome any feedback you have or just broader points just for your fellow SMEs.
Yeah, it worked very well for me. It always does, actually. It's very, very good. Business Insider is quite good. I've done stuff for them. The BBC one, yeah, I did that one with them. But I'm in England anyway, so it doesn't make, it's not too difficult for me to do the BBC at all. It'd be good if you got some of the press from Europe as well. I think you should be going for 3 in the UK, which is read throughout Europe, which is The Guardian, The Times, and The Independent. Those 3 are the kinds of newspapers that actually do the kind of stuff that we're interested in. They'll do features.
Yep, and those 3 are on our target list, and we're engaging those reporters. So a good suggestion there, Carrie. Yeah, and so just a good suggestion. We're always welcoming those type of ideas and suggestions, especially not so much of the outlet, but if you have specific reporters that you read that you find most impactful, shoot an email to us, and that's good feedback because those insights, obviously, you're on the ground, you're living in that area, and this also goes for anywhere, whether it's Hong Kong or China or India,
absolutely, yeah,
etc. So that's a good plug and good reminder that if you find yourself on every Sunday or in an infrequent fashion reading a particular reporter on these intersection of the future of work, workplace management, organization, business topics, we welcome that feedback and we can curate strategies to secure coverage in those areas. We've always had good coverage from the Guardian and the Times. The Independent's a little trickier occasionally, but I know we can work on that further.
Yeah, you know, you ought to go to France 24 as well. That's the English-speaking TV and radio program. France 24 is very good. They'll pick up stories on management kind of issues or organizational workplace issues. It's a television network, but they do radio as well. They also put out stories anyway on their news feed. They're very good. So it's the English-speaking station in France.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. We've got that noted. All right. Well, any other questions? I believe this is the last slide, but any other questions just on the overall SME program, how we engage with you, etc. Okay.
You're doing a
Great.
great job. Keep it up.
We appreciate that. And, you know, like I said, that's the key message I want to deliver on these calls is that it's a two-way street, that we learn from you all and that we learn from your research-based insights, and are able to then distill that into bite-sized information that relates to the broader key topic trends or breaking news cycles that intersect with those topics. So it's hugely important that we're just understanding how to keep that two-way communication standpoint open between all of us. Great. Well, next, I know Steve teased it a little bit, but more of an internal AOM initiative on the public relations function / subject matter expert advisory board. So, Steve, I know I can chime in a little bit on here, but I want to give you the floor on this one.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, so just a quick little teaser. So one of the things that we're thinking about here with the PR core team in our headquarters is developing some kind of a advisory board for the public relations and subject matter experts initiative. So we feel like the program is going really well. We're happy with it. It's a strong program, but we wanted to get more direct input from members outside of these update calls and stuff like that. So probably, you know, we don't have a timeline or anything like that on that, but something possibly, you know, after the meeting or next year. Just keeping the ear out, and we'll be reaching out to people who might be interested in this. But basically, it's just a smaller group to get together once in a while to just brainstorm on where we're going, some activities, areas of interest, and stuff like that to really help expand and expand the footprint of the PR initiative and the SME program. So stay tuned for more.
Great. Yeah, and I think, you know, not to add too much more, but just kind of helps leverage and increase the ability for, you know, two-way feedback and just helping guide strategy externally and internally. So more to come there. All righty. Last, and we can keep this short just because I know a lot of folks are probably busy grading, you know, time of day for our more international participants, but we did want to open up the floor of just what are folks researching, what are folks working on, what topics that's on your radar that you might not have seen in news cycles, and say, you know what, this is definitely something that AOM should have a point of view on or be in the media speaking about. I think the key one of yesterday of the topic in the panel, which is resonating or with some media responding, is basically how do you ensure folks do not burn out while still pursuing career ambition? So, you know, it's the double-edged sword of pursuing career ambition and then also you get burned out. Well, how do organizations help foster professional development without forcing employees to burn out? So I think that's just one to put in your head. And another article that we're doing some pitching around to media is how the middle manager is being squeezed from both sides of the organization, right? So middle manager is sandwiched in between a senior CEO or senior leadership team, and below them, they're also charged with managing and fostering development for many times 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 junior employees underneath them. And so there's some more and more research we're seeing of how that middle manager is statistically the most burned out individual in organizations today, because they're really dealing with those two different stakeholders, right? They're managing up to the senior management team, who are very demanding and want more productivity, more efficiency, more results. And then they're also having to kind of foster development and foster and mitigate burnout from folks younger than them or more junior to them that maybe are struggling. So that's a topic that we're on the RP Reputational Partners team, we're wrestling with, and we'll be doing more outreach in the near future, but would welcome, just open the floor to anyone here. I know, Carrie, you always have some good ideas of what's on your mind, but we'd love to have just some broader discussion here for our knowledge gain and our education from you all, and then we can use that to implement into strategy.
Well, I have a couple that come to mind. I mean, one of the big issues we have in Europe is the line manager issue. And I don't know if you saw that piece done by the Chartered Management Institute in the UK. They're the professional body for managers, and they have 100,000 some odd 200,000 members. I don't know, a huge number. And they did a study called the accidental manager. They discovered that 82% of managers get to their role by accident. They're not trained, they're technically competent, but absolutely incompetent when it comes to people management. So big issue hitting Europe. The other one, so the line manager, so the accidental manager, the issue is business schools do the cognitive input, but don't actually help develop the people skills of managers. They go out there and they're great technically, but people incompetent. And so that's a big issue. Another thing, I'm just finishing a book. In fact, I just finished it and sent it to the publisher on Friday on the line manager's responsibility for employee health and well-being. Are they the people that are driving the burnout and everything else? What is the link between the competency and the EQ of the line managers that affects the productivity and health of employees? Productivity is a big issue in Europe. And anything to do with the productivity, any aspect, how do you actually create a more productive workforce? But you're doing stuff on that anyway, AOM. 4-day working week, big one. Or, why are we, we've got hybrid working now. What about other ways of working that we have? So that's kind of big. And there's been the big study in the UK and 52 companies who've gone to a 4-day working week, and now 50 of them have decided that they're going to stick with a 4-day working week. So who's it good for? Who's it not good for? All of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things going on in this space, no question about it. And the mental health issue in the workplace, is it good enough to have, the well-being day, sushi at your desk, massages, well-being champions, all of that stuff, mental health first aiding, how effective is that? A lot of research is being done on these, which, by the way, they call Americanized well-being, wellness strategies. That's what it's called in Europe. Or should it be more strategic? It should well-being more strategic. Shouldn't we have people on the board whose responsibility is for health and well-being of employees, board members? So what should the organization look like from a strategic point of view if you want to create a well-being culture? Just that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of stuff in my space, but of course that's what I'm interested in.
No, that's helpful. And Peter, I see your hand up there. Yeah, and I think productivity 4-day work week, this is a evergreen plug for anyone listening now or in the future. If you do have active research on the 4-day work week, whether it works, productivity, more results, better worker happiness from 4-day work week, I know media are clamoring to have their hands on reporting on that topic. So that's one that I would +1 on your end, Carrie. Peter, I think your hand's still up. The floor is yours.
Sure. I have a suggestion in a slightly different direction. the biggest issue that has really roiled college campuses, especially in the US over the last 3-4 weeks, is this protest movement, right? How universities have handled these situations. There are, encampments, and should encampments be, should they be broken up? Should the police be involved? How should students, faculty, and so forth be treated? I mean, I haven't seen any articles in the popular press applying lessons from management scholarship on crisis management, on dealing with conflict in complex multi-stakeholder organizations. I mean, again, imagine you're the president of Harvard University, or a university in which you have a tremendous amount of conflict over an issue that is not directly pertinent to the day-to-day management of the organization, but something that is really salient and important to many different stakeholders, both internal and external. What do you do? How do you mitigate that conflict? What protests do you allow? What constraints and limits do you put on it? What do you do when things get sort of dicey? College presidents have been hauled before Congress several times over recent months, and some of them have not performed very well. Claudine Gay from Harvard being a good example. Again, not to get into the substantive issues of the merits of a protest or the broader sort of political and social issues, but just purely from an administrative point of view, what does our literature suggest about effective means that organizational leaders can try to again handle these kind of difficult crisis situations? I don't know who has written. Yeah,
Peter, I think that's a really good one. It's resonating here in the UK as well, because we've had some of that on our campuses as well.
Yeah,
and it's poor management at the top, very poor.
I often imagine, what would I do if I were the president of my university? I'm trying to think through, what is a middle ground solution that is fair to all sides? It's just an extremely difficult problem to manage. But we have lots of literature on managing diverse stakeholders with very different interests. Obviously, we have a crisis management literature that sort of exploded in 2020. Again, I haven't seen anything in a major media outlet applying some of these scholarly lessons to the current conflicts, but I think that'd be something great for our group to contribute to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and valuable. And really, to be clear, I totally agree that we wouldn't want to engage on the substantive issues of the protest, but more so from a crisis management perspective. So, Peter, I think would you be willing to be a good kind of subject matter expert on that one if we had interest?
Well, I mean, I could speak about it in fairly general terms, but it's a little bit outside my main area of expertise. I don't know if we have on our roster who is
we can find
in that area, but
we can also find the research that you mentioned on managing diverse stakeholders and crisis response, especially in 2020. So I just want to at least pinpoint if you were kind of volunteering the hand raised there, or just more so the topic. And that's what
I was really suggesting the topic more than volunteering myself. I mean, I think I could say something somewhat coherent about it, but again, it's not my area of expertise.
Great. And that's a really good one. And another, actually, a topic that we're exploring that I think, Abby, actually, you might be a good fit for, just learning from, but also collaborating. Laura George from the London School of Economics yesterday, she talked about how she had research on the notion of time and that nowadays it's harder than ever to control your time and to understand how to most effectively use your time without your job is consuming all of your time. I know I said time a lot there, but really her point was, in a historical fashion, before hybrid work, remote work, et cetera, that many folks' time was handled for them. It wasn't even something they considered that they have autonomy over, or they have the ability to dictate. And so now with the revolution of remote work and hybrid work and all of those factors, that your ability to pick when you work and how you work, and the ability to wrestle over how you spend your time, is really causing a lot of challenges for folks. So I think, Abby, anything on I just quickly looked up your bio too. I know you're kind of wrestle with that notion of time too. So be curious.
Laura is actually a co-author of mine. We actually have a theory paper we're working on together about how two different people's views of time can conflict and influence each other. Absolutely, that continues to be an issue in terms of, you know, how you use time, how you think about time. I think one of the things I've been thinking about and don't yet have data on is I think this idea of you don't have control over your time. I think what you don't have control over is the perceived boundaries that used to be there implicitly for you. So it's 5 o'clock, you just stop work because it's 5 o'clock. People didn't used to have to think about it like they do now. And so related to this issue earlier about Carrie, and I've been thinking a lot about burnout, you know, I think part of it is not knowing how to create your own structure. And so not knowing how to work within these systems, because the systems also keep changing. You know, how many days I'm in the office required versus how many I can work from home, how many days I'm working versus not working. And I think companies are doing a pretty good job of trying new things, but they're also changing before people can settle in. So one of the things I have been noticing, and this is a real like early signal thing, I have no data on it, I'm not the right person to tell you, but I've been noticing in many conversations I'm having, it's like there's a burnout 2.0 wave that I perceive, whereas it's not just burnout. I'm seeing people at work taking it out on others, as in, I knew 3 people this month who have been falsely accused of inappropriate behavior, whether misuse of company funds or violating company policy. It all ended up fine, but they had to go through a huge, you know, HR investigation. And it turned out that, you know, this employee was just disgruntled that complained against them. And I think people are grasping at straws to how do they deal with burnout, and they're starting to point that to other people. You know, I've been discriminated against, or I've been mistreated, or you're doing this wrong. And I think that's a little bit scary to think about people not resolving burnout. I don't think we have great, I think we know generally what that means, but the people that I see who have resolved their burnout, it's usually they went to a different job, or they took time off, like extended time off, like a long leave. I just wonder if those are the 2 solutions that we have to deal with burnout, or if it's just the prolonged, you know, the work is changing. Still with the pandemic, I'm not recovered from all this stress. I don't know, Carrie, what do you think about that?
I like that, Abby. I really do. And thinking about, we've got hybrid working, but we're not minimizing the things that are causing us to get burned out in the first place. So,
That's
for
right.
example, there's a whole new field called technostress.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about emails, and there's tons of evidence.
Yeah.
I've had a French PhD student of mine, 2 of them, did a PhD with me, and we did intervention studies on emails in a big, huge multinational company and one UK government department. So we're not really changing the nature of work. We have meetings all the time.
That's
I
right.
just got called up the other day by a journalist on meetings. You know, why do we have so many of them?
Mm-hmm.
They're burning us out. Why is everybody sending emails and CCing everybody in? You know, all the aspects of the things that actually burn the hell out of us, they're still there.
Yeah.
I'll finish this call. It'll be 9 o'clock at night, and I'll have 50 emails, 25 of which I'm copied in from 22 other people. I mean, why? Why aren't we managing this? You're absolutely right. Burnout is a big issue. We're seeing it more and more, and technology, rather than helping us, is just an additional burden on us.
And I think one of the things that's missing is leadership guidance. So I did a study with a company recently about some kind of less than stellar ways their employees were dealing with burnout and increased pressures for productivity. And, you know, all signs were pointing to the company values were kind of inconsistent. You know, go home at 5:30, but we work really quickly, and we're fast paced, and we're all about change. And they were constantly changing the physical environment. And when I brought this up to them, and, you know, some of the things that people were doing to cope, they just seem to push it back on the employee. And I think this is a system-wide issue. This is an organizational issue, a leadership issue, a cultural issue, because you can't not reply to emails if everybody, including your boss, is replying to those emails after hours. And we've known this for a long time. And you tell people this, and they're like, oh, I know I should set this boundary, but I don't perceive that I can. So, and I think leaders, unfortunately, right now, hybrid work, 4-day work week, they're just looking at what other companies are doing and jumping on the bandwagon. People aren't really doing this softly.
It's not strategic enough, is it, Abby? That's the real problem.
Exactly.
I mean, when we had the problem, we still have the problem of gender pay gap, right?
Right.
But in the UK, throughout Europe, they passed, and the UK has a law which says that every company has to report the gender pay gap every year. Okay? Guess what happened? The gender pay gap minimized because it became a board issue. We have
Right.
the same thing with employee health and well-being. We really need boards of companies who have a director on the board who's responsible for employee health and well-being and has the metrics to look at. So what's our burnout rate? Because we do have stress-related ill health reported in many UK companies and public sector bodies. But does the board look at it? No. And the board has to look at those issues like it did the gender pay gap. And as a consequence of the fact that they had to report it and it was in the public arena, boy, did they take action.
Mhm.
But you're right, unless they have the metrics, really
Yeah.
good metrics at board level. So the structure of organizations that are going to change is really important to get the board on top of it.
Yeah, so Michael, coming back full circle where you asked, is this about how employees interact with their time? Yes, but we can't push it on them as a time management strategy to fix this. Those are Band-Aids for the wrong problem.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I think touched on a few points that are particularly valuable for us in terms of go forward media strategy. I think, Carrie, you mentioned metrics on burnout rate. I haven't seen much media comment about rigorous or academic statistical methods or formulas for calculating things like burnout rate. Is that pretty prevalent? And I'm just kind of in the dark on that, or is that a pretty novel concept?
Well, in the UK, it's pretty prevalent now that somebody, usually the chief medical officer or the HR director, has more and more figures on presenteeism, on leaveism, on stress-related ill health. It's becoming much more. However, it is not at board. It's usually with like the HR director who has those kind of figures. But I think if the board is to take, and remember, HR directors are not necessarily on the board.
And you also have to think too that this assumes that the employees will be forthcoming and disclosing, even if it's anonymous. I know a number of people, you get the greatest companies to work for survey, and if you're dissatisfied, you just delete it. You don't
exactly
put in your ill wishes for your company, because what if it could be tracked to me? And I hear people say those sorts of things. So I think it's also assuming, how do you get that data when, if you truly have a culture within your company that doesn't support these things, why would anybody report that on a survey just because you send it out? And side note, they're all over surveyed anyway. So,
right.
Exactly.
Good.
And similar to Burnout 2.0, I think there's an up and coming Loneliness 2.0, at least from the Bay Area. I was invited as a subject matter expert to the San Mateo County board meeting earlier this year. And I said, yes, but why are you inviting me? And they said, well, we're going to pass a resolution. And after a lengthy meeting where everybody actually started their own experience of the board members, started sharing their own experience of loneliness, San Mateo County passed a resolution to declare loneliness as a social health crisis in the county. And a week later, I was invited to Daly City meeting where they passed a similar resolution, declared in the city loneliness as a health crisis, social health crisis, all the way from not only work, but also the societal aspects of loneliness, the lonely neighborhoods. They've done a survey in the city to find out that 45% of people express that they feel very lonely. So something is really coming up right now, ironically from the sister city of Silicon Valley, where AI is pushing boundaries. Something quite interesting is happening. Like there's excitement and vibe and anxiety on one hand, and then loneliness, the spillover from on the other. And people are trying to create a balance between the two. So I think some strong emotions are going to come in waves very soon. That's what my personal observations and prediction is.
I think that's right. And I think it's related to what we just mentioned, because a lot of times people, if they feel like I'm the only one experiencing this, they don't share their struggles with coworkers, and then they feel more lonely. So it can be exacerbated.
Great. Well, this has all been super helpful insights and discussion. And I think just for next steps, Natalie and I and the broader Reputation Partners team will think about this, think about how this incorporates into our proactive media relations strategy. And I think definitely the couple themes that we're going to push forward on is, especially in the US, just that notion of calculating a burnout rate and the challenges and opportunities of that, and why those type of metrics need a seat at the C-suite table. The loneliness 2.0 point, Hakan, is very well received. And then Abby, I think just based on your feedback today, and Laura, her impactful insights yesterday, I think just the ongoing, I think the notion of time, protecting time, making the most of time is going to be one of the bigger workplace topics over the next probably handful of years. So I think that's going to be core to our strategy as well. So
yeah, I wasn't able to make that talk yesterday, but I look forward to seeing it when it's posted. I've got it on my list.
We just got it up today, so it's a good
perfect.
plug.
Okay.
So thanks so much for reminding us there. So
Yeah.
it's on the AOM Scholars On webpage, and then it's also on AOM's YouTube. So feel free to take a look at it, and we love your feedback and collaboration. I encourage you to share on your social channels, LinkedIn, socials, etc., and continuing that movement. Great. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. I think we can wrap a little early, and then the recording will be out. So Steve will be sharing that for all the other SMEs to watch. And please, one last plug for the Q4 panel. If that seems like it would be a good fit for you, reach out to us at any of our emails or aom@press.org. And we're looking forward to seeing you all in Chicago in August 11th at 11 a.m. Central Time. And I'm sure you'll see our emails for these media opportunities are coming through on a weekly basis. So once again, thanks for your time and participation in the program, and onwards and upwards. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.